Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Kubrali and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada. Ontario ending wastewater surveillance program which tracked COVID-19 infection. Toronto officer charged with assault in 2020 North York arrest. Gone too soon. Second Rexdale shooting victim identified by family. Severe thunderstorm watch. Toronto could see strong wind gusts, nickel-size hail, heavy rain tonight. Ontario municipalities to get $4.7 billion in federal funding for infrastructure over next 5 years with eye to housing. Bank of Canada cuts key rate for first time since 2020. Hamilton Children's Hospital pauses tonsil adenoid surgeries after death of 2 pediatric patients. Those were the headlines, and let's jump right into the details. Ontario is quietly winding down the wastewater surveillance initiative, which provided scientists with crucial data about infection rates in the province during the COVID-19 pandemic. In an email, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks said the province is making the move to avoid duplication as the federal government also conducts wastewater surveillance across Canada and is moving to expand its sampling to additional sites in Ontario. Moving forward, the Ministry of Health will be working with the Public Health Agency of Canada on a data sharing agreement to ensure that the province can continue to analyze Ontario's specific wastewater data, the ministry said. Wastewater surveillance has emerged as a crucial tool for monitoring the level of infection in the population. The decision to end provincial data collection sparked a sharp response from Ontario Green Party leader Mike Schreiner Wednesday. We need this kind of detailed information to detect emerging threats, monitor community spread, and make informed policy and public health decisions, Schreiner said in a statement. Given the scope of Ontario's wastewater testing program, the expansion of federal testing into the province is insufficient to maintain the standard we have established. It was not immediately clear how frequently the federal government plans to test or at how many sites. During the pandemic, when there was sometimes a lack of access to tests or fewer people getting tested, wastewater data became a key metric of how much viral activity was present in the population. The data was subsequently used to help track whether the province was moving into or emerging from a wave of infection. The province has been doing weekly wastewater testing in 7 regions, including the Greater Toronto Area. Samples have been collected from across 59 wastewater treatment plants, pumping stations, and sewer sheds in 34 public health units. Public Health Ontario has then analyzed the data and made it publicly available online. The program was based on the original work on the Ontario COVID-19 Science Advisory Table. Public health experts have lauded wastewater surveillance as a useful new tool for tracking the prevalence of COVID-19 and other infections in the population. Razak said the winding down of the program marks yet another milestone in the emergence of province from the pandemic. That said, he added that the technology remains incredibly useful for public health officials as well as anyone who is at higher risk and is trying to gauge their risk level in an area. He pointed out that wastewater data has also been used recently to track polio and early RSV season and other emerging and changing pathogens in different regions. So this is really, I think, part of the future of surveillance technology, Razak said. We need to ensure that it continues because, again, we don't know what the next big crisis will be or when it will occur. But having this infrastructure up and running will allow us to respond more effectively. The federal government will provide Ontario municipalities with $4.7 billion over the next 5 years as part of a renewal of the Canada Community Building Fund, formerly the CAS Tax Fund. Federal Housing Minister Sean Fraser, Ontario Municipal Affairs Minister Paul Calandra, Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow, and Association of Municipalities of Ontario President Colin Best announced the renewal of the deal Wednesday. They said in a joint statement that the deal will ensure that critical infrastructure that supports housing continues to be built, maintained, and expanded over the next few years. The renewal of this agreement means that our communities, roads, bridges, and transit systems will be positioned to accommodate growth, the statement read. While the fund is not specifically aimed at housing, the statement said the renewed deal was crafted after the parties agreed on 3 points: reporting and affordable units created to meet the needs of communities and increase capacity of the nonprofit sector, working across all orders of government to leverage public lands to meet housing needs, and committing to a provincial innovation strategy for modular and prefabricated housing, including working with the federal government to develop and adopt a design catalog. In the 2021 and 2022, Toronto received $174 million through the fund, along with $166.6 million in top-up funding. That was out of a total allocation to Ontario of nearly $1.6 billion. It was not immediately clear how large a share the city will receive from the new funding over the next few years. The announcement comes weeks after a provincially mandated report by city staff showed that Toronto is short by around $26 billion over the next decade when it comes to maintaining infrastructure at a standard which would upkeep current service levels. It also comes as all levels of government look to ramp up the supply of housing to combat housing and affordability crisis. McMaster Children's Hospital is pausing scheduled tonsil and adenoid surgeries for patients under the age of 18 after officials say two pediatric patients who underwent the procedure died shortly after being discharged. In a statement, a spokesperson for Hamilton Health Sciences confirmed that one child died in May and another in June. One child passed away the day after their surgery, while the second died 9 days after the procedure. The spokesperson added that while there is no apparent connection between the two cases, the hospital has suspended scheduled tonsil and adenoid surgeries out of an abundance of caution. The statement noted that procedures will be on pause until a comprehensive review of a program can be completed by independent external subject matters. Our deepest condolences go to these families for their tragic loss, the statement, which was emailed to Awaz News on Wednesday, read. Our teams are in the process of informing patients' families and their scheduled care surgery is affected. At this point, a cause of death in the two separate cases had not been released. The hospital will continue to carry out emergent services, surgeries, and the ear, nose, throat ENT clinic remains operational, Hamilton Health Sciences said. A second man has died following a shooting in Rexdale on Sunday evening. Toronto police confirmed to Awaz News that they have information that another individual have died in hospital and that an autopsy will be conducted. We can't confirm that it's a homicide and related to the shooting until that is complete, Constable Ashley Visser said in a written statement. Police have not released the identity of second victim. Speaking to reporters from the scene of the shooting outside North Albion Collegiate Institute near Kipling Avenue on Mount Olive Drive, the man's mother-in-law, Sophia Dunn, said that he's 46-year-old Seymour Gibbs. Dunn said that she had chatted and joked with Gibbs and her daughter on Tuesday night at St. Michael's Hospital. She told Awaz News that she learned late this morning that her son-in-law passed away. Gibbs, she said, was slated to undergo surgery on Thursday on his right leg. Dunn said that Gibbs, who was a father of 5 boys and 1 girl, had only just returned to Canada after spending time in Jamaica with his youngest child, a daughter who was less than a year old. He's just gone too soon. The baby didn't even touch the years old yet, she said tearfully. There's no more words to say, he's just gone. Remembered as a kind person who loved to laugh and cook, Gibbs was sitting with friends playing dominoes when gunshot rang out, striking him at least 3 times in the leg. He would have turned 47 in July, Dunn said. Gibbs was one of the 5 men who were hit by gunfire that night, all part of the same soccer team. The victims were hanging out after playing soccer when 2 male suspects in a newer model black or blue pickup truck pulled up, exited the vehicle, and fired up the 50 shots, Toronto police said. Delroy George Parks, a 61-year-old husband, father, and grandfather, was rushed to the hospital in critical condition but died there a short time later. The four others sustained serious and not life-threatening injuries, police said. During a news conference that day, Sergeant Philip Campbell told reporters that one of the surviving victims suffered serious life-altering injuries while the other three were being treated for gunshot wounds. Ontario Special Investigations Unit SIU has charged a Toronto police officer in connection with an arrest in North York nearly 4 years ago. Officers were called in an apartment building near Dufferin Street and Highway 401 on July 21, 2020, after one man allegedly threatened another with a weapon, the SIU said. A 32-year-old man was subsequently taken into custody. There was an interaction between the officer and the man in the course of the man's arrest, the SIU said in a release. The agency did not provide any further details as to what happened. The SIU is an arm's-length agency called in to investigate whenever police are involved in a death, serious injury, or allegations of sexual assault. The agency said it launched an investigation after being notified about the incident about a year ago in June 2023. Constable Len Rakhaza has now been charged with one count of assault, the SIU said Wednesday. He's scheduled to make an appearance at a downtown courtroom on July 8. As the matter is before the courts and in consideration of the fair trial interests of the accused, the SIU will not provide further comment on the investigation, the agency said in its statement. Arakhaza, 30, has been on the force for 5 years, according to the Toronto Police Service. The force declined to comment as the case is before the courts, but said he remains suspended with pay as per the Police Services Act. The Bank of Canada marked a major turning point in its fight against inflation on Wednesday as it lowered its key interest rate for the first time in more than 4 years, making it the first central bank in the G7 to cut rates. Governor Tiff Macklem says the central bank has more confidence inflation is moving closer to its 2% target, citing various indicators that suggest price pressures have retreated. With the quarter percentage point cut, the central bank's key interest rate now stands at 4.75%. Macklem and Senior Deputy Governor Carolyn Rogers delivered the news while wearing Edmonton Oilers pins, a nod to the Canadian hockey team heading to the NHL Finals later this week. Like the Oilers' ascent to Stanley Cup Finals, the Bank of Canada's rate cut has given Canadians something to cheer for. The rate cut Wednesday also opened a new chapter for the Bank of Canada, which has been preoccupied with wrestling inflation down over the last 2 years. But as the governor faced questions about the July interest rate decision and whether the central bank will cut again, Macklem urged the room of reporters to be patient. Let's enjoy the moment, he said. Meanwhile, on Parliament Hill, federal Liberals celebrated the news. After attending the Liberals' weekly caucus meeting, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland took the microphone to echo Macklem's comments that the rate cut was a moment to enjoy. Meanwhile, Conservatives were in no celebratory mood as they argued that the rate cut would do little to help Canadians. With inflation down significantly and the economy stalling, most forecasters believed it was the right time for the central bank to begin lowering borrowing rates. Canada's annual inflation rate has steadily declined in recent months, reaching 2.7% in April. The Canadian economy has also weakened under the weight of high interest rates. Economic growth in the first quarter came in lower than forecasters expected, and the unemployment rate has steadily risen, reaching 6.1% in April. A quarter percentage point rate cut won't turn things around the economy, but TD's Director of Economics, James Orlando, said it paves the way for more rate cuts in the coming months. TD expects the Bank of Canada to lower its key interest rate to 4.25% by the end of the year. The rate decision puts the Bank of Canada ahead of other central banks in the Western world in cutting interest rates, including U.S. Federal Reserve. When asked how much the Bank of Canada can diverge from its peers, Macklem said that it doesn't need to walk in lockstep with the Fed. There are limits to how far we can diverge from the United States, but we are not close to those limits. Toronto and much of southern Ontario are under a severe thunderstorm watch. Environment Canada says conditions are favorable for the development of severe thunderstorms that may be capable of producing strong wind gusts, nickel-sized hail, and heavy rain. This line of thunderstorms is currently impacting southwestern Ontario and Lake Huron. This line of thunderstorms is expected to push through the region later this afternoon into this evening, the advisory read. In Toronto, 10 to 20 millimeters of rain could fall this evening. Heavy downpours can cause flash floods and water pooling on roads. Water-related activities may be unsafe due to violent and sudden gusts of wind over bodies of water, Environment Canada said. Showers are expected to continue overnight before ending early Thursday morning. Toronto will then see a mix of sun and cloud with a 40% chance of showers and a high of 25 Celsius. Wet conditions will continue Friday with a 70% chance of showers, but it will be cooler with high of 17 Celsius. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.